as I started learning about what plastic does in the environment and the waste problem and how we can't dispose properly of plastic. But then I learned that in 2019, 8% of global petroleum use was for plastic. But that's expected to jump to 20% of global petroleum use by 2050.
I'd like to welcome our listeners to the Boulos Beat podcast. I'm Cameron Foster, guest hosting for Greg Boulos. The Boulos Company is Northern New England's largest commercial real estate services firm, with offices in Portland, Maine, as well as Manchester and Portsmouth, New Hampshire. We've been selling and leasing real estate in Maine and New Hampshire since 1975. This podcast is designed to provide insight into Maine's business movers and shakers. And speaking of business leaders, I'd like to welcome Laura Marston to the Boulos Beat. Laura is the owner of GoGo Refill, whose mission is to help people find joy in low-waste living. Whether you are taking your first steps or you are a seasoned zero-waster, they stock beautifully durable, delightfully effective products and bulk home essentials consciously curated to lessen the need for harmful single-use plastics. GoGo Refill locations can be found in Maine at 64 East Street in South Portland and 163 Pleasant Street in Brunswick. Laura, welcome to the show. Laura, how are you?
Great. Hi, Cameron. Thanks for having me.
Of course. I'm excited to have you. I know the listeners are excited to hear a bit about yourself. And right there, let's kick it off. So we'd love to know a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, and how'd you end up here in Maine?
Yeah. So I started off, I grew up in Concord, New Hampshire, right downtown near the State House. And childhood was really like small city, lots of fun, skiing as much as possible, which continues to today, which is part of the reason I ended up in Maine.
Awesome. And family still in Concord?
Yep. Mom
and dad's side, still everyone?
Yep, my parents are both in Concord. My brother lives in Portsmouth. Everybody's kind of
hanging in
story,
Concord.
Yeah.
And everyone skis, and
Yes.
that was a big family thing.
Yep.
That's awesome. What do you, anything stick out growing up in Concord? Where'd you go to school? Did you live near the school? Is it a neighborhood?
It was a really neighborhood feel growing up. We had kind of the run of the town from a young age, and it was just really fun and idyllic. I don't think it's a place I would want to live as an adult, but great fond memories of growing up there.
And then from Concord, went to high school in Concord, and then?
I went to boarding school.
Oh, okay.
At Northfield Mount Herman in Western Mass.
Okay. And then from there, did you come back to Concord, or? Oh, so that's where it started.
Yep. So I went to NMH when I was 15. I had a great 3 years there, a wonderful experience. Really opened up my eyes to a bigger world. There are so many international students at NMH. That was a great experience to learn from. And from there, I went to Skidmore College, all the while skiing. That's kind of my through line. And ended up at Skidmore.
And tell me a little bit about Skidmore. I researched that you studied English, literature, and Japanese.
Yeah.
Super fascinating.
Yeah.
Majors. Why?
I mean, I guess if you look back, you would say that I did study. I don't remember that part. But I always loved English, and I loved literature. I still read a lot. So that was an easy major for me. When I was at NMH, I had some friends from Japan and a Japanese roommate, and started learning a little bit of how to write and read Japanese. So when I went to Skidmore, I thought I would try studying Japanese language, and I loved it. And I ended up studying abroad in Japan and having just a really cool experience doing that.
Wow.
I could actually speak Japanese. I can't anymore,
wow.
But I could.
I've heard very little, but that there's 3 different almost sections, as it was explained to me, of the language that you have to master.
The writing and reading part, yeah.
It sounded complicated. I want to go to Japan too, so I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
I could speak it. Reading and writing wasn't my thing, but my whole goal was just to go to Japan and be able to talk to Japanese people without using English, and I did achieve that. We had a lot of fun.
Maybe we'll have you sign off in Japanese, and we can put little subtitles.
I can't do that anymore.
We won't put you under that pressure.
Yeah.
So, well, quickly, at Skidmore, did they have a ski team? Were you able to continue skiing?
It was a club team.
Okay.
It was the most fun. We just had a budget and no coach or anything. We just managed ourselves and we had a blast and we drove all over New England, New York, racing and having so much fun.
Oh my goodness, that does sound fun.
Yeah.
I played soccer in college. I wasn't a skier, but do have fond memories of playing sports in college. Yeah. From Skidmore, you transferred to Garand.
Yep.
I hope I'm not butchering the name. Garand.
So Garand is an advertising marketing agency now called Garand Molenkamp in Portland.
Okay.
Between those two, we did a year in Montana, in Bozeman, Montana. More skiing, lots of skiing. And then we made our way to Portland for my now husband's job. And it was kind of like, we'll move to Portland for 1 year and see how it goes. And we just celebrated 20 years living in the Portland area. So we liked it.
And so the advertisement agency was the pull here.
It was,
along with your now husband's.
Yeah, it was a happy
job.
accident, actually. I started working at the front desk there at Garand and just grew into being in the production department. I was sort of like an internal project manager, making sure trains ran on time, deadlines were met, clients were happy. So,
which is important if you're going to go start your own business, maybe.
Which I never thought I would.
And then I was just doing more research. You were a software product manager and then a strategy consultant. It seems like this evolution. Was that with the same company or is that?
That was, no, that was not with the same company. It was a company called Freeport Metric, so located here in Portland, and then development team is in Warsaw, Poland. So I started working there after a brief hiatus for procreation. I had 2 kids. Came back.
How you explain that? It's awesome.
And had a great experience working in software. The company kind of took a chance on me. I was not a technical person prior to coming to Freeport Metrics, but I really loved working with. Mostly, I worked with startups who were putting their idea to life, like bringing their ideas to life. So a lot of times it was a passion project where people were building their first iteration of a software product that they had dreamed up for a long time. So through that process with a bunch of different clients, I kept thinking in the back of my mind, well, what would my passion project be? What would be the thing that I was willing to really invest in? And around that same time, 2017-ish, I was beginning what I call my plastic awakening.
Your plastic awakening.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm almost, how could you not? You know, I find myself in commercial real estate doing the same things, trying to learn about the businesses. So strategy consultant, you went, okay, now I've found something, what you called the plastic awakening.
Yeah.
This must be GoGo Refill.
Yep.
Now, was that the name that you started with day one? Because I love the name.
No, I had so many name options, and I didn't even start as the idea would be a store.
Okay.
The idea, I was really in software land, and so I was like, well, maybe I'll have some sort of like software application or mobile app where people can go through the grocery store and like pick a better option for lower waste shopping. That was kind of my idea. And people had been trying to do it. It hadn't really been, I hadn't seen another platform do it really well. I also knew exactly how much it costs to create good software. And I didn't think that I had that kind of venture in me.
It's expensive.
And I also wanted to create something that benefited my community locally. And because like that local connection piece is really important to me.
So like you could, within a supermarket maybe, you would be like almost sharing space.
Something like
and like no brick and mortar.
Yeah.
Just purely an application people could use on their phone.
I had a whole bunch of different ideas like that.
Drawing them all out,
Yep.
what could work.
Yep. But I had a lot of different name ideas. Once we settled on the fact that we would be some sort of retail store, we thought maybe we would start with a mobile shop first, but we ended up finding the great space in South Portland, so we went with brick and mortar first.
And then I know we did a little intro about, a little bit about the mission. Can you tell just a little bit again, like what you guys do? And then you said your plastic awakening. What kind of drove you to start this business outside helping other businesses grow with Freeport Metrics? Yeah.
So GoGo Refill is a plastic-free refill shop. And what that means is we encourage our customers to bring their own containers into our store and refill from our bulk home and body products. We are on a mission to spread the joy of low-waste living and help people refuse single-use plastic.
And I think of like water bottles, hand sanitizer. What are some other things that, really add to single use people may not be thinking about?
Yeah. So the example I always like to give is the laundry detergent container. You use your big plastic laundry detergent container, and then you're expected to just put it in the recycling and go buy another one. Well, that big, colorful, durable plastic container is totally usable again. So we don't want you to put that into the waste stream. We want you to reuse that. So bring it into GoGo or a refill shop near you and refill it instead of putting it into the waste stream.
Because there's around like 1 million people in Maine. So if everyone's doing their laundry, hopefully,
yeah,
it's, 1 million of those a week, every 2 weeks going in. It's a lot.
Yep.
What are some of the things that have, I don't want to say make you sad, but maybe driven you to continue to grow the business, specifically around plastic? And have you traveled and kind of seen the impact? I know I've seen a lot going on in the ocean with the plastic island and.
Totally, and that's exactly how I kind of got interested in plastic waste, was the way that a lot of people do, right? We see videos of a turtle getting a plastic straw pulled out of its nose by a researcher. We hear stories of whales washing up, having actually starved to death because their stomachs are filled with plastic and they can't take in any nutrients. Those things are terrible. Seeing what plastic does in the environment, to marine life, to birds, but also to us. Plastics break down into microplastics, and they get into the air, the water. They're in our lungs, they're in our tissue, they're in our poop, they're in baby poop at an alarming rate, because we tell babies that this plastic spoon is safe for it to use and this plastic toy is safe for it to chew on. So that's how I came to it, similarly to many people, but a couple of things I learned along the way that really made me say, okay, wait, we really need to stop the flow of single-use plastic. One of those things is just that we can't recycle our way out of the problem. And once I learned that, it was really like, okay, so we have to reduce and we have to refuse single-use plastic.
And when you say that, explain, you have to change the way we're doing things.
Yeah.
We just can't simply keep putting it in the...
Exactly. So the statistics are that 5 to 6% of plastics get recycled right now. That's it. So we think we're doing the right thing, and we're saying, oh, but it's recyclable, and we plop it in the bin, but only 5 to 6% of plastics are getting recycled. And we're actually even using the wrong word. Plastics aren't getting recycled, they're getting downcycled. So your plastic water bottle doesn't then turn into another plastic water bottle. It turns into carpet fibers or car parts or plastic decking material, something like that is then harder to recycle again. So of those 5 to 6% of plastics that get recycled, less than 1% of those get recycled a second time.
And does that also come down to it not being biodegradable? I've also researched a little bit that it's kind of hard to destroy once it's been created.
It's hard to destroy, but I think it more has to do with the process of, and how, actually, I don't really know the answer to this question that well.
We're getting into the minutia, right?
I would not be able to really explain that well. But another one of the things so as I started learning about what plastic does in the environment and the waste problem and how we can't dispose properly of plastic, but then I learned that in 2019, 8% of global petroleum use was for plastic, but that's expected to jump to 20% of global petroleum use by 2050. And the reason that's happening is the oil and gas industry, they're seeing their profits declining because, they're predicting their profits to decline as we move to a greener fuel sources, more electric cars. Countries and regulation to fight climate change will reduce our oil and gas use for transportation and energy. So the oil and gas industry is banking on us using more and more single-use plastic so they can still be profitable and successful. But the whole process of plastic production is very carbon and energy intensive, from extracting oil and gas from the ground to the refining to the manufacturing, transportation, logistics, and finally to disposal. The whole process is, it generates a lot of pollution. So not just the disposal part, but thinking about the whole thing. But if you reuse your container just one time, you're cutting its carbon footprint in half.
And that's what I think it's things that people can do. And that's why I loved working with you. I like the business model because I feel like it's things that people can do and should do.
And that's why we, even knowing that the problem is so big, we focus on the positivity, the positive impact that people can make, and trying to make it fun and joyful, which is, a little to balance.
Can be tough.
Yeah.
I know I've been to your store, but can you explain to the listeners like how it works if they were to come to your store? I know I mentioned it in the intro, but you're in South Portland, you're in Brunswick. If I were to come to your store for a fourth or fifth time, talk to the listeners. How does it kind of work?
Yeah. So we encourage our customers to bring their own containers in, but if you don't have a container or you don't know what you need, just come on in because we always have free containers in our container library. So the idea is you bring in your, say, shampoo bottle that's empty and clean, and you come to us. We do all of the refilling for you. So we have a whole menu of refillable items, and you bring us your container and we'll find the right item for you, and then we do the filling for you. We fill it up for you and we just charge you by the weight of the product that you are buying.
Okay.
So one of the great things is you can just get a little to try, or you can get a huge amount of whatever you're looking for.
Depending on the container,
Yeah, depending on the
that you're
container.
bringing. And what are some of your top products or favorites? I know I have the hand soap, the dishwashing soap.
Yep.
The laundry detergent.
You just named them.
Okay,
those are
those three?
Those are the big three: hand soap, dish soap, laundry detergent. Those are easy because they kind of work the same as what you're using at home. You can put them right in the same container you were using before, and they're really clean, non-toxic products also that we sell.
Now you just celebrated GoGo's 4th birthday. Congrats!
Thank you.
How has it changed and grown in 4 years?
I mean, it's kind of impossible to believe that we've been here 4 years. 4 years, so we opened 6 months before COVID. So our history is kind of like marked like that by the progress of COVID and, opening up and coming back to life afterwards. So our goal always was to create like a community hub around waste. So it's a place for people to come, ask questions, talk, collaborate, motivate each other. And that has been just such a rewarding experience to build that and to watch that grow and have like legs of its own.
The culture.
Totally. And that is
company.
in no small part I owe that in no small part to the GoGo Refill team. We've got the best team in retail, the friendliest, most enthusiastic, knowledgeable staff that we also try to have a lot of fun all the time. I think people love that they can come in, bring their dog in, bring their kids in. We'll remember their names. We have fun treats for people. I don't know. It's just, we have a blast doing it
It's
too.
a community. I mean, it's good. You treat it that way.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
We also want to make sure that it is delightful and fun because some people, and it is an extra errand. It is an extra step. And so we want to make sure you have fun when you come and do it. I want to add that, every year on our birthday, we calculate how many containers we've kept out of the waste stream. So together with our refillers over 4 years, we've been able to refuse 192,727 plastic packages. And that's important because that's 192,000 plastic packages that aren't going into the waste stream, that our municipalities don't have to pay to dispose of, that won't end up in the environment, breaking into microplastics and harming the environment. So.
And it's like you said before, it's just one step in front of the other. Like, how can we make a little dent in it?
Yep.
And
we like
inspire others, because that's what I thought about this interview and in the business, and it's more can you make people aware?
Yep.
And what's that worth? It's hard to quantify, people being aware.
Yeah.
And starting to do just a little bit. You started in South Portland.
Yep.
Why Brunswick? And I know that's when we met and kind of crossed paths, the Boulos company and GoGo Refill, but why Brunswick?
So I think like day one that we opened in South Portland, someone came down from Brunswick and was like, "You've got to be in Brunswick." And we just heard it every day, and we had so many people coming down. We had people who had would go out to their neighbors and say, I'm going to run down to GoGo Refill, who needs something? And they would come down with all these containers labeled, and we'd fill, and they'd drive back. So people carpool together to come down. And we just consistently heard from people in that area that they were ready for a shop like ours. We also did the farmers market up in Brunswick last summer just to further test the market for us, and we were really warmly received there. When we were looking for a place in Brunswick, we thought we wanted something totally opposite from what we ended up with. I was looking for something small and inexpensive and easy to staff with one person and just be more like an offshoot or an outpost from our South Portland store. And what we ended up with was this high visibility, great frontage place that you helped us negotiate.
On Pleasant Street.
Yeah, right on Pleasant Street. So.
And what was the build out like? What did you put into the? Because it's very cool. I've been, but for the listeners, I know they learned about the process. Mm-hmm. But what is a normal build out?
Well, so our philosophy is we just do everything ourselves that we can. Yeah. So the same with South Portland and with Brunswick. We did get a little more help in Brunswick, but it was all cosmetic. Only things that were needed were cosmetic. So we just, fresh paint inside and out, new flooring. We fit ourselves with a big new sink because we do wash a lot of buckets and containers. So that's great. We did it really quickly because we were trying to get open before Christmas shopping season last year. And so it was about 3 weeks from when we signed the lease to when we opened the doors. So it was, full bore, every day, all day.
And have you had people come in kind of looking around, not sure what the store is?
Oh, completely.
Oh, that's fun.
I think the best story was we were, when we were working before we opened up, we were working outside in the parking lot one day and a car pulled up and said, we had a sign that said, our GoGo Refill sign was out there. And he said, what are you? What do you refill? And we were like, we refill soap. And he's like, not pizza? And we were like, no, not pizza. And he goes, you mean refill pizza? He really wanted pizza.
Really wanted pizza. Yeah. No pizza.
No pizza.
No pizza.
But we get coffee shop a lot. Some people think we're a dispensary, but I just think that's because our branding is so good.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? The great branding.
Yeah.
What does the future look like for the GoGo Refill team?
We've got a lot of irons in the fire right now. So we're just trying to continue being the best team in retail and offering this great customer service and growing our main mission, which is helping people refill, helping people reduce their use of single-use plastic. But we are putting more emphasis on our commercial refilling program. So we do have businesses that refill with us also. And we're redoing our e-commerce platform right now. So we are hopefully going to be able to push more business in that direction and reach people that are not local. There's more. I have a new idea every day for things we can grow. So my goal is to calm down and do what's right in front of me instead of trying to do everything at once.
Like you said, many irons in the fire.
Yeah.
But it sounds like there's a lot happening and the future looks bright. What are some, I'm going to kind of segue to some fun questions.
Okay.
What are some motivators for you outside of the office, outside of GoGo?
Yeah. Well, I try to have...
And not skiing, because I know skiing is a big one.
I'm going to say that, so you can't help. I can't make me not say that. So I think I have 2 kids. One's about to be in high school, one's in middle school, and just try to have fun every day. So I try to get that joy every day and bring that into the shop with me. It's really motivating to have my kids watching me start this business. They were fully formed when I opened GoGo. So they saw the whole process from the idea to the build out to me being really nervous, not thinking I know what I'm doing, to having it be a thing where their friends are like, oh, your mom owns GoGo Refill. So that's pretty cool.
And were they involved?
Yeah.
They
painted.
We're talking family dinners? We're laying out the
Totally.
business plan. So you brought them in.
You
wanted them
they
to
painted
learn.
with me. I think it was their April vacation. of 2019 that they spent the whole time painting the walls of GoGo Refill with me.
That's, yeah.
So that's a huge motivator for me.
It's a family business too.
Oh, totally. My husband, who we lovingly call Mr. GoGo, is our volunteer CFO and carpenter. So
volunteer CFO and carpenter.
Yeah.
Everyone's pitching in.
Exactly.
But that's the businesses I think people want to support. What advice would you give someone wanting to pursue a similar career? My little sister is studying sustainability, and I think there's a lot of people that are watching those types of animal documentaries that you mentioned. What kind of advice would you give?
So I'm going to steal someone else's advice.
Okay. It's allowed on this show.
Yeah, okay, good. So there's a famous marine biologist and conservationist. Her name is Dr. Ayanna Elizabeth Johnson, and she has come out with the climate action Venn diagram. So you take, I'm going to butcher this, so please look it up, but you take what needs to be done, what you're most passionate about, and what your skills are. And you find what's in the middle there so you can focus and be most effective with your time and your energy and your skills. And I think that's super important because I think as individuals who are concerned about the climate crisis, we can feel totally out of control. Like, what can I do as an individual? But also, it's important for everybody to get in where they can, because every effort is a good effort and every step in the right direction is a great step in the right direction. So I can't do the same thing that these other people can do, but those other people have to focus on what's important to them. So if we're all pushing the thing that's most important to us, then we're all getting all the messages out and all the effort in the right direction.
Yeah. Spreading the awareness.
Yeah.
It seems like too big of a problem for one single person or company, you know, rather to take on.
Well, and that's why I think zero waste is really taken off, or people trying to live zero waste or trying to live plastic free, because it's something that as an individual you can control. You can control your waste to a certain extent, and it's something that, you know, if you just use that as your lens for conscious consumption, then you do make a big difference individually, but you're also adding to a growing number of voices who want the same thing, creating a market and creating this like wave of people who are saying to big business and to the world, like, we're going to consume differently. We're not going to do the same thing everyone's doing.
Leading by example too, you know, getting people to start
walking the walk.
Right? You got to walk the walk. What's one thing you wish you had known when you began your career?
That's a hard question.
I was looking at it. I was thinking about it. I don't even know how I'd answer that one.
Well, I guess the thing I'd say is, like, your little business can survive a global pandemic.
You didn't know that.
We didn't know
You
that.
didn't know that was coming. Well, thank you for coming on the show. This was fun. I'm glad you came out.
Yeah, great. Thanks so much. It's a blast.
Laura, thank you for being our guest today on the Boulos Beat, a Boulos Company podcast. I really appreciate your taking the time to chat with us. You can learn more about GoGo Refill at the company's website, which is www.gogorefill.com, on Facebook at GoGo Refill ME, or on Instagram at GoGo Refill. And if you'd like to learn more about the Boulos Company, please be sure to visit us at www.boulos.com. You can also find us at The Boulos Company on Facebook and LinkedIn, and at The Boulos Co on Instagram and Twitter.